Okay, and welcome to a new tutorial by DevScorch. So, in this tutorial we're gonna learn how to build a UI using UI storyboards. We're gonna build the UI of the login screen of the DevScorch app. It's an application I have in development for 2021. Pretty exciting. And we're actually gonna build this using storyboards. So we're gonna use 100% UIKit today. So I want you guys to open Xcode. Open a new Xcode project. We're gonna use iOS of type app. Next, and we're gonna call this storyboard tutorial. Next, save it somewhere where we can find it back where we need it. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna make this a little bit bigger. Okay. So first thing we're gonna do, we go to assets, and we're gonna drag our DevScorch PNG in there. In the assets folder, that is actually where you keep all the assets that you're gonna use for your iOS app. Nice together. Okay, so we're gonna open up the main.storyboard. Rendering the storyboard can take a few seconds. Perfect. Okay, so what you see here is an iPhone 11. But we're actually going to change this to iPhone 8 or iPhone SE. So we're going to open up down here, View as iPhone 11, and we're going to select the iPhone SE 2. Perfect. Okay, so let's look at the design. Where is the design? So we're going to have a grayish background color, an image, a few labels, text fields, buttons, and a small footer over here, a small disclaimer. So we're gonna start. In our view hierarchy, so we have the view controller scene, the view controller, and the view. We're gonna select the view, and we're gonna go to the right panel, to the attributes inspector, and we're actually gonna change the background color to custom. Go to the sliders, and we're actually gonna give this 22 for red, 22 for green, and 24 for blue. So we get like a really nice darkish color. It looks really nice. So the next thing we're gonna add is a UI image. So on top of Xcode we have here the plus sign. That's the library. And inside the library we're gonna search for an image. So we have here the image view. The image view is also an attribute of UIKit or storyboard, doesn't matter. The UI image view is part of storyboard, and UI image is UIKit. So we have selected the UI image. We go to the right panel in attributes inspector, and we're gonna select the DevScorch logo. So as you can see, it's really nice and centered. And when we go to our attributes inspector, under view we have the content mode. At this moment it's set on aspect fit, and you can actually choose a lot of different modes here. So for example, scale to fill. This means that it scales the image to the size of the UI view, of the UI image view. And as you can see, that doesn't look really nice. So we're gonna change this to aspect fill. Okay, so this is also not looking very nice, does it? With the aspect fill you actually fill up the whole image view, even when you lose some of the image. So we're not going to do that as well. What we're going to do is center. And as you can see, it looks really nice. When we center it nice in the middle, it's a little bit smaller than the original, looks perfect. And what we're going to do now, we're going to embed this inside a stack view. So a stack view is like a standalone container where you put your attributes, and it can't escape the stack view. And with the help of stack views you actually start stacking stuff on top of each other, and this helps you creating like a really nice responsive UI that looks nice on small screens and on bigger screens as well. So on the right side down we're gonna call embed in, and we're gonna add a stack view, and now the image is nice centered in a stack view. So the next thing we're going to add, we go to library, and we're going to look for a label. So UI label, and we drag this one on the screen as well. I'll make this a little bit bigger. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to change the color. So we click on color and we just give it a color we like. I took like a little bit like reddish / pink one. And the next thing we're going to do on the right side in the attributes inspector is align center. This means that all the content we put in the label is going to be aligned in the center, so right in the middle. And then on top here we have the label, and we're going to change this to Dev Scorch 3.0 is now available. Pretty cool. Enter. Gonna make this a little bit bigger, and we're gonna put this nice in the middle. So we're gonna put this in a stack view as well. So we go back to the embedding view in stack view. Pretty cool. And we put it right under the other stack view. This looks really amazing. So now we need another label. So we go back to our library. On top here we have the label. I'm gonna drag it in here. Gonna make it a little bit bigger. We're gonna change the color to white, and we're gonna call this sign in. So when you look at the font over under the color, we have here like this small button. When we click that, we actually get a small pop-up, and here we can choose like the weight of the font. In this case we want bold. We're going to give this a size of 30 pixels. Perfect. So go back to the label, change the color, we change the size, and we give this an alignment of center as well. And this one we're also going to put inside the stack view, so it has its own container. Pretty cool. So what we need now are two text fields. So we're going to check for text fields. Gonna drag it onto this canvas. Gonna make this one a little bit bigger. Maybe just a little bit. Perfect. Okay. And on the right side, in the attributes inspector, we're gonna give it an alignment of center. And under there we have a placeholder. We're going to call this a username. And under there we have the border style. We give it a border of bezel. This is just for controlling. Later we're going to delete that again. And we're going to go down. And we're going to give this a background color of white. Pretty cool. And we're going to copy this one by Command C and Command V. Okay, perfect. Gonna paste it right down, and we're gonna change the username here. We're gonna change it to password. Oh, and right here we have the secure text entry. When you work with login screens and you want to add a password, make sure you use the secure text entry. When you click that, or when you activate this, the password is actually not showing. It just looks like dots. So somebody who's looking over your shoulder can't actually look at your password or what you're adding. So pretty nice. So this looks really cool. What we're gonna do now, we're gonna select both of them, and we're gonna give these two its own stack view as well. Okay, we're gonna Command C. The first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna give both a fixed width and height. The width of 256, yes, and the height we're gonna give 40. Okay. With the second one we're gonna do the same. We're gonna give this a width and a height. And the height of 40 pixels. Maybe we have to tap this a little bit, like till it's 40. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna select them both. We're gonna embed in a stack view. As you can see now they are nice together. Looks pretty nice. And they're really nice and centered. Okay. Next thing we need are 2 buttons. So we go to our library, and on top here we have a button. I'm gonna drag it in there, and we're gonna drag another one in there as well. Okay. So I'm gonna select the first button, and we're gonna give it a width of 151. And we're gonna give this some constraints of width and height, and the height we're going to change to 40. And we have to adapt a little bit the height ourselves. Perfect. Okay, so what we actually did till now, we created an UI image, a label, another label, we added 2 text fields and 2 buttons. And everything except for the buttons are in a stack view. And what we did here with the text fields, we actually gave them their fixed width and a fixed height. That means that the height and the width will always be the same. Doesn't matter how big the screen is, it's always going to be the same. And that is what constraining is for, because you are constraining the width and the height. With the button we actually did the same. We gave it a width and a height, so that's how big or how small the screen is, it's always going to be the same size. Okay, so we select the first button, and on the right side we have a button, and we're going to change this to sign in, and under there we're going to change the text color to white. Pretty cool. Then we go down there, we have here background, and we're going to give it a really nice purplish kind of color. These are colors I already used before. So you can choose your own colors, by the way, you don't have to do exactly what I do. But if you want to have the same color as I have, this is just like a really nice purple. Okay, so we're gonna select the sign in button. No, wait. First we're gonna do the second button. I'm gonna make this a little bit wider. We're also gonna give this a fixed width and a fixed height of 79 and a height of 30. Pretty cool. We're gonna change the button to sign up, and the text color is gonna be white as well. So as you can see, now we have a sign in button and we have a sign up button. Pretty cool. Okay, so we're gonna put both of the buttons in a stack view. So embed in view, stack view, and we're gonna center this one under there. Okay, so the last thing we need is another label for our how's it called, for our footer. So we're gonna give this an alignment of center, we're gonna give this a color of white, and in here you have lines under the alignment. We're gonna give this 2 separate lines. So this means that all the information you put in the label is not gonna be really big, you just put it on 2 lines. So we're gonna write here, by signing in into DevScorch, you agree to our user agreement. Perfect. So I'm gonna make this a little bit higher. Perfect. And we're gonna make the font a little bit smaller. So we go back to our attribute inspector, and we're gonna give this a font size of 13. And I see I made a mistake. It's gonna be user. Okay. Make it a little bit smaller. Pretty cool. So we're gonna put that one also in a stack view. So embed in stack view. Sorry, Command C. First we have to give it a fixed height of 52. And after that we're gonna embed it into a stack view. Oh, I forgot to give it a fixed width, sorry. So we're also gonna give it a fixed width. Perfect. And now we're gonna stack it. So now it's in the stack view. Now we are sure that the label is gonna be its own entity. So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna constrain this stack view where we have our little disclaimer. We're actually gonna constrain this to the bottom, to the right, to the left, and to the right. So 30 pixels from the right and 11 pixels from the let's make this 20 pixels from the bottom. Perfect. Okay, so what we're then gonna do now, we're gonna select each stack view except the stack view with our disclaimer in it. And we're gonna put this all in another stack view. And after that, we go here on the right side to align, and we're gonna give this horizontal and the vertical alignment. And now actually when we run this inside our iPhone 8 simulator, we should have our working UI. So let's see what happens when we open up our application. This looks really nice actually. We actually created a really nice login screen, and it looks really nice on iPhone 8. So what we're gonna do now, we're actually gonna give our text fields and our button some form. So on the right side here, under the library button, we have a small add editor on the right. When we click that, we actually get another editor, and inside storyboard tutorials, we're actually gonna select a view controller. So okay, as you can see, here we have our screen, and on the right side we have our code editor. So we're gonna open up these stack views. Let's check, and we're gonna need the text fields, so these. So what we're gonna do now, we're actually gonna create IB outlets, which are connecting the main.storyboard and all the attributes on it to our code. And we're gonna do that by control dragging. So this means you press Control, you click the username, and you drag it all over the code. And now you get a small pop-up. I'm gonna call this user text field connect. And as you can see here now, it has created an IB outlet of a weak variable named user text field of type UI text field. We're also going to do the same for our password. Control drag. We're going to call this password text field. And we're actually going to do the same for our button. So command drag over here, and we're gonna call this sign in button. Pretty cool. So now we're actually gonna do a little bit of UI kit. So inside the view.load, and the view.load is a function that when the view is loaded, it's gonna run all the code that's inside the view.load. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna call our user text field dot field dot layer dot corner radius equals 22. Pretty cool. We're gonna do the same for password. Password text field dot layer dot corner radius equals 22. And last but not least, sign in button dot layer dot corner radius equals 22. Okay, so what we did here, we called our IB outlet, named user text field of type UI text field. We selected the layer of the UI text field, and we gave it a corner radius of 22. For the password is also for the sign in button as well. Okay. So we're gonna select here, we're gonna select our text field. We're gonna get rid of the border by selecting by border style the left button. For the second one as well. And let's run this and let's see what happens. Okay, building a project takes a few seconds sometimes. There we go. Yes. So as you can see, we actually created a really nice UI using storyboards. And it looks beautiful on the iPhone 8. But let's see how it looks on a bigger screen like the iPhone 11. So we're gonna run it. Let's see what happens on the iPhone 11. It's a little bit slow today. Yes, perfect. So now I have two simulators on the same together. As you can see, it looks beautiful on the iPhone 11, and as you saw before, it looks beautiful. As you can see here, it really looks beautiful on the iPhone 8 and also on the iPhone 11. And this is actually a little bit how you build UI inside iOS when you use storyboards. You can do a lot with the stack views. You can do a lot with alignment. You can also do a lot with constraining. I'm gonna close this. Normally, or of course, this is a really easy design. What we did here, it is really easy. But when you start constraining, it's really powerful because you can create UIs as well as your imagination. So you don't have to worry about any constraint. You don't have to worry about any problems, because with constraining you can actually fix everything with stack views as well. And yeah, looks pretty nice. So in this video you learned about storyboards. You learned how we can build a UI like a login screen using our storyboard. We learned about constraining a little bit. So we started giving our labels and our text fields and buttons like a fixed width and a fixed height. Pretty cool. We learned how to use stack views. We learned what stack views do, and we actually learned that we can use stack views inside of stack views by creating a beautiful UI like this. There's only one more thing I want to show you, and that's our view controller. We actually go to our view controller.swift and we're going to clean up the code a little bit. As you can see, inside the view.load, we have the user text field .layer.cornerRadius equals 22. But we have 22 for each of our values here. What will be easier, instead of, for example, you want to change all three of the values, you have to change them 3 times. But if you create a variable, so under IB outlet, we're going to create var, and we're going to call this radius equals 22. Okay, and we're going to delete the 22 here, and we're going to call CG float of radius. Pretty cool. I'm going to copy this, paste it, and paste it. So what we have seen here now is, instead of changing 3 times the value, we only have to change it 1 time. So only 1 time the 22. And so we created a variable named radius of value 22. And inside the view.load, instead of 22, we wrote CG float of radius. So the CG float, that actually means that the user text field .layer corner radius accepts a floating point. It accepts a float. And 22 is a float. So you call CG float of radius. Pretty cool. So we have cleaned up our code. We learned a little bit how we can make stuff easier. Yeah, as I said, working with storyboards, you can do everything you want. You can make your UIs as beautiful, as difficult as you want. It's all possible. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. In the future, we're actually going to build more UI. We're going to build also our UI using code. So instead of storyboard, we're gonna code our UI. But I think for a beginner's tutorial, this was really amazing. So you guys did a great job. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you in our next tutorial. Have a good night and keep coding.